We just talked about all these costs or investments that a farmer has to make. And on the farmer's side of things, we want to take a look at return on investment with some normal and some slightly unusual calculations or things you may not have thought about a lot on your farm.
Well, it's very important as a farmer. You have to look at your operation as a business, and anything that you're going to do out in that field, you have to look at it as an investment. If I'm going to make an investment in tillage, am I going to get a return on my investment? If I'm making an investment in any of the crop inputs that you're going to put out there, you have to analyze them dollars and cents to see if they make sense for you.
Yeah, and as 2013 was rolling along and we saw commodity prices coming down, a lot of guys just started really panicking and thinking, well, I got to really cut my costs now going into next year. You should never look at it that way. What you should always look at is, what am I going to invest in? And is it going to give me a good return? If it's not going to give you a good return, then by all means, we don't want to do it anymore. But there are plenty of things that can give you a good return on investment. So I just want to give you one quick example here. And this may turn out better or worse for you and your farm. That's not the point. I just want to show you here with inoculant in soybeans, just how to run some simple calculations and what we do in our own operation. So for example, inoculant in soybeans will run roughly $2 an acre. And if I can gain a half a bushel in yield, you might say, well, boy, it's only a half a bushel. It's not even worth messing around. But I want you to take a look at this. Okay, if I look at the net return on investment, if I'm going to gain a half a bushel, if I have $12 beans, that's $6 an acre I'm going to gain from a $2 investment. So on a net basis, that's $4 an acre that I gain. If I divide the $4 by the $2 I invested, multiply times 100, that's 200% return on investment. That's fantastic. But besides that, you got to look at on an APR basis, because you're borrowing money on an APR basis. What's your return on an APR basis? Well, if you only invest that money for 6 months, let's say you put the money out in the spring, you get the money back in the fall, well, you have to double that now. Now you've got a 400% net APR return on investment. So that's a big deal. And a lot of people do think about that, and we want you to bring those types of numbers to your banker. That's banker kind of language. Okay, here's my kind of language. If I've got 1,000 acres, I multiply that times the $4 I made, that's 4,000 extra dollars in my pocket. That's what I'm personally most interested in.
Okay, well, that's my point there. It doesn't really take much time. It may only take you 2 hours, and you just made $4,000 for 2 hours of work.
So that's $2,000 an hour.
Yeah, that's not too bad. There's a lot of jobs I'd do for $2,000 an hour.
So anyway, our whole point here is we're not trying to sell you on inoculant or really any other thing. We just want you to take numbers from your own farm, take a look at how much you're going to have to invest in something and what that return on investment is looking like for 2014. Because yes, it's very possible that commodity prices by the time we reach spring of 2014 might be a lot lower than they've been the last 3 or 4 years. That does not mean it's the end of the world. You just have to be really careful about what you're investing in and try to make wise investments just like any investor would do.
Well, we're going to look a little deeper in the soils coming up later, but one other thing that you're going to really have to focus on this year is weed control. Can you identify this week's weed?